Hi everyone, I'm Danielle Blankton, and this is another video covering Virgil's Aeneid. In this one, we're going to talk about the happenings of Book One. So, with Book One, we are kind of picking up post Aeneas fleeing the city of Troy. Like, we haven't recounted all of those details yet, but it's going to definitely happen. Right now, he is, he and his people, his Trojan, fellow Trojans, are trying to survive a storm at sea. And this deadly storm is basically happening because Hera still hates the Trojans. If you remember back to the whole narrative of the judgment of Paris, Hera was one of the three goddesses, of which Paris had to decide who was the fairest, and he picked Aphrodite slash Venus, same person, and the other two, Hera and Athena, really hated the Trojans after that. And then you saw in Euripides, the Trojan women, that play can open sometimes, depending on the translation and the artistic liberties taken. Um, that Athena is sometimes now on the side of the Trojans because a sexual assault has happened in her temple and she's not okay with that. And so now she sides with the Trojans and hates the Greeks. But here we are with Hera, and she still really freaking hates the Trojans. Now, let me point out something here with the different sorts of names, like when I said Aphrodite slash Venus. In my other videos, like the one on Sappho, I talk about this how Aphrodite and Venus are the same person. Aphrodite is the Greek name in their mythology. The Romans basically stole the Greeks' mythology. Some of the stories are about the same, a little bit of variation here and there, but they have different names for the exact same gods and goddesses. So we could be really confused about this centuries later in a literature class. So Juno and Hera are the same people. Hera is the Greek name for the queen of the gods in mythology. Juno is her Roman name. Okay, so Neptune is the Roman name for Poseidon, the god of the seas, right? And remember that when the Euripides, the Trojan Women opens, Poseidon is the first one who walks out on stage. He's looking at all the poor Trojan women with pity. He supported the Trojans. And actually, and you learn this, he says it in the opening of the Trojan Women, and he helped build the city walls. He helped do that with Apollo, actually, just so you know. And so Hera is causing this big storm at sea, but by asking the winds to blow really hard. But Poseidon is like, "Hey, turn the fan off. Like this isn't okay. I want the Trojans to survive because I'm Team Troy." And so the winds stop blowing, but it's already kind of decimated. Most of their ships, right? So they land in no other place but Carthage. That is in modern day Libya. That's in North Africa. So we've gone from the city of Troy, which we speculate is roughly like northwestern-ish modern day Turkey. A lot of places will just say it's modern day Istanbul or around there. And we've traveled from there to like along the coast of Greece and a little bit along the coast of the southeastern coast of Italy, and then boom, landed here in Carthage. So the good thing about this is that we're going to meet somebody who wants to help Aeneas. And Aeneas is going to get some help from his mama, who happens to be Venus slash Aphrodite. So he's half mortal, half immortal, kind of like Achilles. We've had other characters I've talked about in some of my videos like this. Okay. She appears here when they've first kind of shipwrecked, landed on the shore of Carthage. They don't really understand where they are. They're being kind of cautious. And he sees his mother disguised as a Spartan girl, and she tells him where he is, who is the queen here. And then we also get Dido's background, and wow, she's been through some trauma. So she's a widow because she has a totally psycho brother who's a tyrant, a power-hungry tyrant who killed her husband. And she had this dream that the ghost of her husband has shown her that she needs to flee and to go to Carthage. And so she takes the citizens with her from her past place who supported her, and who, didn't support the criminal brother who was taking over. And she founds Carthage. So then Aeneas recognizes, wait, this is my mother, and she's walking away. And it's always like when in these moments in ancient literature or older, any kind of mythology related thing, where they recognize that it's a god or goddess disguising themselves to look like an immortal, just an everyday person. Just like a twinkle in their eye, or something about a flash of light, about like the way they step or move. And this kind of goes back to what I've said in previous videos talking about, in particular, the Iliad, those translations of the words like shining and flashing and bright and glittering. It's like looking at the sun. You can do it, but it's really bright and it might hurt you. It's very powerful. So then he realizes it's his mother, but she doesn't totally abandon him. She disguises him and the Trojans in a mist so that they can just kind of sneak in like a cartoon, without anyone seeing them. So they won't have to feel threatened by entering this strange city. So we've got some major infrastructure work going on because Dido is like, I mean, Carthage is there, but she's like really building up the city. And one of the things, we got a public art project that has happened apparently. We have this is like one of the most famous scenes from the Aeneid. Um, Aeneas sees there's a mural of the fall of Troy, and he I mean, this is a very real moment of maybe even some PTSD. He says, and you have different phrasings of this in different translations from Latin. Like, isn't there anywhere on this planet that doesn't know about the woe of Troy? And it's very heartbreaking for him to even look at it. It says he sees King Priam, he sees Achilles, he sees the Greek encampments, he sees the murder of one of his brother Trojans, Troilus. He sees the Trojan women going, like, while the fall of Troy is happening, they're going to the temple of Athena, remember, because she hates the Trojans, and they are pleading to her, please stop this war, please, making offerings to her. And of course she doesn't stop until something bad happens in her temple. And while he's taking all of this in, oh, and by the way, this sort of thing, this whole artwork created based off of literature. It's called ekphrasis. You might hear that also pronounced ekphrasis. So this means we have something that's highly descriptive language of an artwork that isn't necessarily real, like in our world. And so that's exactly what we have here, this description of this mural of the fall of Troy. It also can happen in reverse, where you have the image does exist in real life, but and then we have something describing it in some other artwork, drama, poetry, could even be dialogue in a film. It's still technically the word and image relationship. Well, after Aeneas has taken this in, and he's very upset by this image. The mist dissipates, and there is Dido, Queen of Carthage. And the thing about this mural being here that is the whole reason Venus lifts the mist away from them is one of the Trojans even says to Aeneas, well, yeah, looking at this mural, well, I think we don't have to feel threatened here. They know who we are here. They know what we have been through. And that's exactly how this plays out. Dido pities the Trojans. She has the utmost respect for them and what has happened. And they were this is one of the most revered societies, revered cities around the world, and its loss is considered a devastation. And that's part of that a tragedy cycle you keep getting the telling and retelling and retelling and retelling of the story, the narrative, the different pieces of the Trojan story, the fall of Troy. Okay, so Dido is already interested in Aeneas. You can definitely infer that from reading the story. Then it gets a little more serious. Well, first of all, like he wants to show his appreciation for her letting them stay there while they rebuild ships. And he gives her some pretty, like, swanky gifts. He gives her a scepter that belonged to the oldest daughter of Priam. And some other really nice stuff, but really the most outstanding thing he gives to her is a robe that freaking belonged to Helen of Troy, um, which is probably a little bit of foreshadowing, even. I mean, I feel like it's kind of cursed because poor Helen got blamed for everything, and just tragedy just seemed to follow her wherever she went, because of the way she was objectified. So, um, even though Dido was very into Aeneas. His mother, Venus, wants to ensure that, okay, like she's really, really going to help my son out because he needs to stay safely here for a while and rebuild those ships because he has this whole thing, like looking at her watch, where he's supposed to go fulfill um, his destiny of founding a city. This is going to be the race of the Latins, and then we have, and his descendants will found the city of Rome, and then you'll have like the whole magnificent Roman Empire, right? So, like all of that has to happen. It's like pre-fate. It's just fate, and we have her sending. When I say her, Venus is sending her son Venus, who is Aphrodite, the goddess of love, which is really more like the goddess of lust in her case. She has a son who you are probably familiar with as well, and his name is Eros, but you probably know him as Cupid, the little chubby baby with a bow and arrow that you see around Valentine's Day. And you know what happens when he shoots someone with his arrows that, well, it gets really specific, like if they're hit by a golden arrow or a lead arrow and on and on. But if it's a golden arrow, you fall in love with the first person you see. Um, so he doesn't strike her with an arrow, but Venus sends arrows disguised as Aeneas's toddler son, and because Dido doesn't realize that this is actually Eros in disguise, it even says in the Aeneid at one time, she had no idea the massive god she's actually like dangling on her knee as she's sitting here talking to Aeneas. While Eros is sitting on her knee, he's just casually enchanting her. He's putting like a spell on her. So she falls more and more deeply in love with Aeneas. so that no matter what, she's just like, she is going to help him. She's going to give him whatever he needs. And this is all happening, and she doesn't realize it's happening. He's in disguise. And because Aeneas is like about to go on in the next book and recount what happened, he's going to tell all of this trauma of the night of the destruction of the city of Troy. And we also find out here that it's been 7 years since the fall of Troy. So all that the journey I mentioned earlier in the video, going around the coast of Greece and Italy before ever even landing in Carthage. This guy has been through a lot, so he has a lot of story to tell. I mean, all of the trauma of the fall of Troy has been on his mind for all these years. Okay, so that's all for book one. Thank you for watching.